All right, I am here with Roger King, entrepreneur, president of Supplement King. Roger, thanks so much for coming on Perform.
Good to be here, Jason.
So, Roger, I gotta know, tell us a little bit about how you got into this supplement industry. I mean, you went from one store to 63 stores in 5 years or less. Tell us the story.
You know what? It's really a bootstrap story. Much like many businesses, they're the invention of necessity. I was a young St. Mary's University student in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Enjoyed lifting weights. My budget didn't support my own interest in supplements, however. So as a student, I began pooling orders with varsity athletes on campus and eventually making enough money not only to cover my own personal stock of supplements, but also starting to turn a little bit of profit to cover some bills as a student. And then fast forward a year or two later, I had bought a car, filled my trunk full of supplements, and had a portable debit machine. I think that was back when debit machines first became portable. And I would take phone calls and deliver door to door every single day. And eventually the phone was ringing more often than I was paying attention in class. So I took the dreaded semester off, much to the chagrin of my folks, and opened a little booth in a mall in downtown Halifax. So Supplement King was born following a delivery business into a little mall kiosk.
Wow. And I mean, when you first started, I mean, were you working 12, 14 hours a day? Like, tell us about the grind.
Absolutely, it was a lifestyle. I mean, you can resonate with that. You know, you look back at your growth stage of your business and you shake your head and you think, how did I have that kind of grit and energy? And you know, it's the motivation of losing it all is incredibly powerful. So when you're not sure how you're going to make that bill in 2 days' time, there's nothing that pushes you to achieve like that uncertainty or that fear, we'll call it. So I lived with that fear for a number of years because I used a credit card to open my kiosk. I maxed it out at $15,000. I remember talking a credit card company into taking a credit risk with me, and then maxed it out to buy product. And as long as I could turn enough product to pay that bill in full within that 21-day cycle, I didn't incur any interest. And so that was always the fear of not making that turn and getting hit with $100 in interest, which happened a few times and it really hurt. So, you know, all of those things as a new entrepreneur, I don't think anything motivates you like the fear of failure. And when did you start franchising after you started? Like, give us a little bit of insight on when you started and how that transpired. Sure. So I went from one mall kiosk where I kind of cut my teeth as a retailer and learned how to have conversations with customers about fitness goals. I added a second mall kiosk on another side of the city. But the turning point was taking over a flailing store in the center of downtown Halifax, next to a busy fitness center. It was called Park Lane Mall, and we still have a small location there today. In that store, I recognized how much more volume you could do with a proper size store footprint. I can give you a Nutrabolics nod at the same time, because in that store, I met your business partner, Rodney Dupont. And through that meeting, that chance meeting, because he had moved into a condo overhead of the mall, I built my first meaningful vendor relationship with Nutrabolics. And I'm very thankful for that and thankful for you guys, because that was my first opportunity to truly grow my business through a meaningful vendor relationship.
Awesome.
And, you know, there are always a few things, Jason, I'm sure you can agree with me when you know, there's a few things that always just kind of work out when there's a successful business story.
That's
you know,
true.
a few things that were fate related, that just, you know, timing or the right place at the right time. Well, that certainly was an opportunity for me, and we've since built a great Nutrabolics relationship that continues to grow today, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you know, I know you probably used a ton of supplements, right, in your day, obviously. But of the Nutrabolics brand, like, what are your top supplements right now that you've used that you can really, you know, stand by?
Right now, I continue to be an avid pre-workout user. I have been a fan of Supernova since its launch and through its evolution to Supernova Infinite. It's, it's hard hitting, it's full formula, fully dosed. And, for me, protein powder, workout, the greens product are really kind of the makeup at this point in my life. HydroPure has been my go-to consistently on and off for protein powder. Now, you can't go wrong. And the fact that this business, is so near and dear to my heart due to the reasons that, I just talked about, it's all a perfect package for me. Now, on the business growth side, having gone from that little mall store, we eventually found a non-inline store, a CRU unit out next to a Good Life Fitness Center on another part of Halifax, and took on our first strip mall style location. We used numbers from the inline mall to try to build a business plan around what we were going to do out there. And we quickly realized that we were going to greatly eclipse the amount of business we could do in a mall, in a strip center style retail. So, after 3 years running 4 outlets locally in Nova Scotia, I had felt that I had learned enough and suffered enough of the pitfalls that we could create a system guiding people on opening a supplement business, marketing that business, and managing that business in their area. And so I guess the franchise opportunity was then born.
And how has it been during COVID for yourself and for the retailers, and where you are now?
Rewind 1 year from now, when the world took a turn for the unknown, it was scary to see the provinces buttoning down the hatches, stores being restricted as to who could enter and the number of people, or any people in some provinces. The managerial task of juggling 10 different sets of restrictions, because restrictions were managed provincially. And so, what changed in BC one day could be completely the opposite of what changes in Ontario that same day. So for our team to wrap our head around and guide our stores through the managing of this constantly changing landscape that was COVID, it was incredibly challenging. And, honestly, it was very tiring. Now, we did have the good fortune of having a fully integrated e-commerce solution in place going into COVID. And what I mean by that is our e-com does not fill from a depot. All 64 stores feed live into the e-com. Their inventories live live in our e-com. So when you place an order with us, it's going to search our inventories for the closest site that has all of those items live in stock, and it will push that order down for fulfillment there. As such, we're able to offer a next day delivery national guarantee, which is something that we don't see our other retailers currently offering. And as a result of having this system in place, our stores were immediately able to capitalize on the shift in consumer behavior from brick and mortar selling to online selling. And, you hear the term COVID silver linings and, some wins that came out of COVID. Well, we did pick up a substantial amount of new clients between March, April, and May. And a lot of those clients have stuck with us. While our brick and mortar has returned to very strong numbers, we still have that e-commerce arm that has been good to us. So, we would always envision e-commerce as being a space that we needed to be operating in, but this year underscored it like no other.
Now that you have this experience in the supplement industry, what would you say to your younger self? Now that you've been through everything you've been through, you've seen everything you've seen, give us some insight on that.
Geez, that's a good one. I mean, there's so many lessons I've learned on the marketing side over the past 4 or 5 years. One thing I would go back and say to my younger self would be, your guns. If your plan is proven, do not make concessions that you're not willing to make for everyone. And I guess that relates a little more to franchising than it does to anything else. The franchise business is unique in the sense that you bring someone on for a very long-term business relationship, and it's not a hire fire relationship. So you need to be very certain about that team that you build, because divesting of someone from that team is a very challenging process. And so we've had the good fortune of assembling a strong team. Not everyone that came in over the years was a perfect fit for us or us for them. But at this point, we have certainly shaken down the group to be our optimal go-forward operators. And in fact, near all of our operators are multi-store operators, which is our plan going forward.
Wow. So do you guys have any plans to open up any new stores in the future? And can you give us some insight on that?
Yeah, we have our stores all sold out through over 80 locations. This whole year is slotted and scheduled. We open a store every 4 weeks, although we have had a few COVID delays on the construction side. And, in those instances, we would perhaps miss a month, but open 2 in the following month. Things that you can't control on the permit review side or construction material side. But we, firmly believe we'll open 12 to 13 locations in 2021 and do the same in 2022. And we have development partners in place now in our major centers that have contracted their growth with us. And as a result, we will protect a specific region for them. And these are our best and brightest. These are the team members that represent the brand at the highest level. These are our team members that service customers at the highest level and that truly represent what we are about as a retailer.
Wow. And do you have any personal goals for the next, say, 5 years for Supplement King, something that you guys are shooting for? Like, what does that look like for you?
We have had on our long-term goal whiteboard in our war room or our meeting room the international expansion goal. We've had it there. We feel there are a number of emerging markets globally that need a strong or command a strong supplement retail presence. You would know this as well as anyone, Jason. You see these emerging markets picking up momentum. I'm sure you deal with distributors and see retail networks that are out there, and there are opportunities that exist beyond even North America, I'll say. So that's definitely a long-term goal. We would like to continue to grow the depth of our management team here. We have spent so much time and money investing in training resources. We have an app internally that all of our employees and our franchisees communicate with us, and we communicate with them through. People spend all their day looking at a smartphone, and nobody wants to read email threads. So we thought coming up with a training app and communication app was going to be the best way to collaborate. So that's something that we've invested an incredible amount of time and energy. Growing that would be a continued goal for us. The list could go on and on, Jason, but those are the things that I think about a lot.
Nice. And is there anything that you wanted to talk about today, or any questions you had for myself?
I was really excited to talk to you about Nutrabolics, and we had the chance to do that. I also am very interested in what you, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, how you have evolved over the past few years. You have found new ways to express your interests and to, I would love to learn a little more about what drove you to host a podcast, and what do you hope that your listeners take from your podcast?
That's a great question. I think, for me, I'm a constant student. I love learning. So this was an opportunity for me to connect with people that I feel, a lot of respect for. I feel like I could learn from them. So for me, I enjoy the podcasts in the fact that, I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning all the tips. And then I love to be able to give that to everybody that's listening out there, be able to give those information. And that's kind of why I really wanted to do the podcast, is when I started to, connect with certain people, I started to say, wow, like that's a great piece of information. I think more people would want to hear that. And that was kind of, what drove me to start the podcast for sure. My other question, the other question that I was actually going to ask for you is, I was wanting to hear it from you, because I know that, obviously it's on your website, but what makes Supplement King different? Like, what is the what is this, the one thing or the two things or however you want to package it, but what makes Supplement King different?
That kind of goes hand in hand with what we have done to establish our footprint nationally. When I was in my 20s operating that mall kiosk as an owner operator every day, I did not get the customer that I expected to get. I instead got the business owners or the corporate employees or people who just all had one thing in common, and that was they shared a fitness goal. They had a vision for themselves physically or from a fitness perspective that was different and did not know how to achieve that. So we have built this entire business and this entire brand around fitness goals. And, if you ask our team, we are not actually in the supplement business. We're in the fitness goals business. We want to have discussions around it. We want to cater product and lifestyle items around fitness that promote a healthy lifestyle. We want to let our competitors be a supplement store where we want to be more of a lifestyle brand that also sells supplements. And that's been a big separation point for us. We don't necessarily want to sell on price. We want to be competitive. We hold specials. We think we're very strong out there in the market, but our best customer is a customer that isn't necessarily chasing a $5 discount. We want the customer who wants to change their life through lifestyle change. And that's who we market to. And that's what we're aiming to be.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any moments in your career where it's been kind of scary, gloomy, maybe you felt like giving up? It could be a store closing, give us the juice on that. Tell us a little bit about, how that and how you came.
Yeah, absolutely. If I rewind back about 3 to 4 years, because things have changed very quickly. We were starting to gain momentum and we hit that 20-ish locations mark fairly quickly. At that point, we were on the radar of our other competitors out there. And one of the things that was very challenging for me was that other competitor or competitors had given ultimatums to brands to choose a customer, them or us. And as a result, we did lose our business dealings with a couple of brands. And I can tell you today that even though the tables have turned and they have come back to us, we continue to not do business with brands because I think it's a very dangerous relationship when a brand or a wholesaler will let your competition tell them how to run their business. And if that's happened once, who's to say that doesn't happen again? But when that happened, it forced us to innovate. It forced us to move beyond third-party relationships to direct relationships, particularly as it pertains to our branded merchandise. And we sourced international connections. I went to China for 3 days before wiring a very large sum at the time of money overseas for a couple of containers of shakers. And we've been very, very successful on that change, and it's been a blessing. But at that time, it was very nerve-wracking.
And nowadays, for a guy like yourself who's got all these stores, how do you find the time to stay fit, spend time with your family, have that balanced life? Give us some insight on that.
Jason, I am a pretty good business owner, I believe, but I'm not the best manager in this building. We have hired some very talented, very dedicated people, and they are the best at what they do in their specific task. And my job is to ensure that everybody is hitting their milestones, that our goal continues to remain aligned and we're achieving them. Over the past year or two, I have found the ability to drop my kids off at school every morning, get to the gym after that, show up at the office feeling refreshed and healthy, and then put in a good day from there. As you would know, business is not a defined set of hours. Business is a lifestyle. So in the evening, after I have an opportunity to spend some time with my wife or the kids, I might plug in and clear my inbox for an hour, or I might not. But you're always on call. That's the difference. And a good business owner recognizes that early on, embraces it, and is always there when their company needs them.
Mm. Are you still involved in the stores? Do you still go and visit the new franchises? Like if someone were to call you up today and say, hey, Roger, I'm out here in BC. How do you go about communicating with your franchises and seeing them for the people out there who might be interested in working with you?
Yeah, I don't physically get to stores that often, particularly over this past COVID year. When we had a smaller network of stores, I would make an effort to visit, a third of them or half of them through the course of the year. Now, my time is better spent working towards our goals and on our real estate and leasing side, along with our relationships. Those are my areas of specialty. We have a great team in here. We have people who will go out and travel and prepare the stores for each opening. We have a marketing lead in-house as well that will work with our agency to ensure that everything is prepared. And one of the giant pivots of, pivot is a big word this year, of 2021 is we are now able to virtually open every store. From 6 months to opening day, we have a schedule and we have milestones, and the team will host virtual calls and prepare everything and even oversee the fixturing of the shelves virtually. So it's been an incredible thing that we never thought we would be able to achieve. That was the invention of necessity, which I think is truly at the heart of everything entrepreneurial. Is there a book that you've read that's near and dear to your heart that maybe if you could, have every single one of your, franchise read this book, you think it might help? And for all the people out there who want to learn from someone as successful as you, and maybe they can't connect with you, what book would you suggest people read? Oh, Jason, I hate to let you down here, but with a 4 and a 6-year-old at home, I've basically built this business through the young dad years, and I am very poorly read at this stage of my life. Okay. Any little bit of and any little bit of free time that I get away from this business, I either spend with family or take a little downtime. We haven't had a whole lot of vacation over the past year and a half with my wife, or my oldest daughter had some hospital stays in her 3rd year of life, and so I spent a fair bit of time in the children's hospital with her. So there's just has always been something that kept me from expanding myself through reading. But I do look forward to, as the kids get a little older now, as I find myself having a bit more time for myself, growing my knowledge base through some great books. So I look forward to you sharing with me your top business picks, because I definitely need to play catch up. Well, I would say for anybody out there that's an entrepreneur, the number one book is The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. I think that's a book that should be everybody's book collection. I've read it probably 20 times. And for people who aren't familiar with Chet, not that I'm plugging him because unfortunately he passed away, but Chet, he was the national sales manager for Charlie Munger. And if you're familiar with Charlie Munger, Charlie Munger's Warren Buffett's business partner, right? So Charlie has all these divisions in his company, several complete different industries, multi-million-dollar divisions. And Chet came in and he doubled sales in every division. And he talks about it in his book, all the strategies he used, because Charlie sat him down one day after he had doubled sales and he said to Chet, Chet, are you doing something illegal? Because this is insane. You're doubling sales in every single division. I cannot believe it. So Chet explains it in his book, and he uses some very unconventional ways. And I think that would be the one business book I would personally suggest. Very cool. Yeah. Is there anything for an entrepreneur, for someone who's successful yourself, is there something that you could suggest that they do to help them? Is there a course, a schooling? What piece of advice could you give to entrepreneurs out there that want to be successful like you? What resource should they turn to? Obviously you have all this knowledge, this success. Give us a piece of can you give us a piece of insight on that? I do mentor some young entrepreneurs, and I'm an investor in some other businesses. One is in the green energy space. It's actually an artificial intelligence software solution for building management systems. And then another is in the food delivery space. a fast-growing company that's going to service smaller markets, which are widely unserviced by the Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes of the world. So I've had a chance to have a good look in at different companies and different business plans. One of the things I always emphasize to young entrepreneurs, particularly in early stages, is don't try to make your business plan fit your ideals. I find people are often very optimistic with their projections. They start to buy into their own business plan rather than looking at it pragmatically and trying like a scientist to disprove their claims. I feel like in order to have a strong business plan, an actionable and an investable business plan, you need to attack it personally. You need to look at all of its weaknesses and see if it holds up in order to have a good business case to go forward, particularly if you're looking to raise money through investors. A lot of the business plans I see are far too optimistic, and they have not taken the time to poke the holes through them. So that would be something that I recommend to anybody out there who's evaluating a startup, who has an idea. Put your business plan down, get all of your numbers there, and then start to try to poke holes in it, because your investors are surely going to do so.
That's actually a great piece of advice. Did you have a mentor growing up or someone that you looked up to?
Not in business. I grew up in a great family. My mom and dad were wonderful people. My father worked. He was a family court crown attorney, and my mom was home. No entrepreneurial inspiration around me. When I got to St. Mary's, moving to Halifax from St. John, New Brunswick, I grew up in Rossi, New Brunswick, small town outside of St. John. So Halifax was the big city. Moving here to go to St. Mary's, to the big city, I saw prosperity like I hadn't seen before in New Brunswick. And it was business owners. So as I worked I was a blackjack dealer at the casino. I quickly started to see that those who had prospered the greatest were those who had taken a gamble, taken a chance on something, and found success in business. So for me, it was a matter of taking an interest of mine, which was fitness and supplementation, and trying to build a business out of that, trying to separate myself from the established players. And like any business, Jason, I think that I had some good fortune on the timing front. Supplements went from being a niche product to being a daily consumer good. Fast forward today, almost anybody from 18 to 80 has a natural health product in their life of some sort. Well, back in 8 or 9 years ago, supplements were for bodybuilders and athletes. So it's, there was some good fortune in that regard, but no particular mentor at that time, just personal motivation, and then the need to succeed.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and performing. You shared a lot of great insights.
Oh, Jason, I really appreciate it. And it's a real pleasure to talk to you. Nutrabolics is, as I said, very near and dear to me. And what you're doing now is going to help a lot of people, particularly at a time where the economy is changing, the world is changing. I think entrepreneurship is the future for more and more people. And hopefully this motivates a few to take them on.